Welcome to the Astro Psyche. This is your weekly astrology forecast for September 9th through the 15th. This week is about expanding your capacity for growth. We have our first quarter moon in Sagittarius this week. We have the sun making an aspect to Jupiter, Venus making an aspect to Jupiter. And so there's a lot of emphasis here around how we want to grow our capacity for expanding into our lives. And so we're going to talk about that this week. My name is Shawna McGrath. I'm a psychotherapist and an astrologer, and I'm so pleased to be able to share the astrology of this week with you from a psychological perspective. So, let's talk about what is happening first. First things first. So, we're within the waxing phase of the lunar cycle. We had our new moon in Virgo on Monday, September 2nd, last week. The moon is making its first quarter uh, aspect this week. So, the first quarter moon is happening in Sagittarius on Tuesday, the 10th of September. And so a first quarter moon is essentially it's the first square of the lunar cycle. So we can think of the sun in Virgo being here, and then the moon in Sagittarius is here. So there's this square, there's this tense aspect that's happening. When we have this particular week, there is usually a meeting of scenarios. I can feel like we want to make a change, to commit, to double down, to dial back. There is usually a call for action or a call for confrontation in some kind of way. And this can be external, it can be internal. And it may harken back to the ideas or the origins, the things that were sort of coming up for you around the new moon in Virgo on the 2nd last week. So, those are things to think about. I want to name that we are also within a mutable lunar cycle. So, there's still a lot of mutable energy that's happening. We have the sun in Virgo, which is a mutable sign, and we have the moon in Sagittarius, which is a mutable sign. And so, whenever we have mutable energy, there's a lot of symbols around change and transition, allowing space for both things to exist at once, for something to be true and then something else to be true as well. So there's a lot of sort of paradox here, and there can be this feeling of moving back and forth. So those are all things that may come up more in your mind, in your emotions, in your day to day sphere. Overall, though, this is a week of moving forward, of expanding, of taking risks, of being extroverted, doing the things that you need to do. And so this is because we're in the growth waxing phase of the lunar cycle. And then we're also having Mercury pick up speed. Mercury is actually functioning at its more quick pace now that we're farther away from the retrograde that we had in August. And so this is kind of the tone. So we're kind of moving into this more fast moving or wanting to move more fast kind of energy. Now, also this week, the sun in Virgo is making a square, so another square here, a square to Jupiter in Gemini. And so I think this is very striking. And all of this, there's a lot around expansion and growth and wanting to expand your capacity for things. So we have the sun up here in Virgo, we have the moon here in Sagittarius, and then we have Jupiter here opposite the moon, square the sun in Gemini. And so when we think about Jupiter, Jupiter is the planet of law, of morals, of principles, of cultural context, of wanting to study, wanting to think about things philosophically, wanting to really understand the philosophical structure or the ethics of things. It's wanting to learn and to grow and to expand, to move towards a more growth oriented mindset. Jupiter is about inclusion and advocacy. And Jupiter is also the planet of children, of fertility. I think that we could also put the moon and Venus in there too, but Jupiter traditionally is the planet of children. And so this idea of the the core human principle of new life and growth, and the we can think about Jupiter as representing that principle of very rapid growth and development that happens from age 0 to into adulthood. There's so much that happens, and things tend to happen very rapidly. So there's this psychologically this week, a plugging into that principle around growth and all of these other things too that are more connected with culture, study, social justice issues as well. And the planet that's activating this part of us is the sun. And so the sun is a symbol of leaders, it's a symbol of vitality and energy, that innate spark that animates us, that uh, is different than the muscular movement that we have, but that part of us that is inspired to act. The sun is also a symbol of paternal figures or masculine presenting figures in our lives, caretakers that had a more paternal role, or authority figures, boss figures, leadership sort of, um, and people that have influence. And we can also think of the sun as the illuminating force. So the sun brings light to things. The sun brings things to light, to consciousness, to conscious awareness. And so there is a consciousness that's being brought to Jupiter themes. Now it's a square, so there's kind of this like little tension sort of theme here. And when I say tension, when I see a square aspect like this in astrology, it's usually something that we cannot ignore. That there might be a little, it can be something that's agitation or frustrating, uh, and it may simply be something that inspires us, invokes us, or propels us into action. It doesn't have to be something that is unpleasant, but it is something that 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 gets us moving, so to speak. And there's something here involving the lunar cycle as well, because this is connecting into um, that new moon in Virgo, and then this first quarter moon that we're having this week in Sagittarius. I think also with this aspect, concepts around your principles, your belief system may come up as well. Jupiter is very connected to our beliefs and what we know to be true, and um, how our, in this case with Sun Jupiter, it's about how our conscious awareness of the world, how we consciously view the world, is connected to our belief system. And what are the beliefs that we have? How does that affect our conscious awareness? How do our beliefs affect our emotional landscape? And what's evolving here? What is shifting and changing? Where are there new beginnings that are happening? Now, to stay with this Jupiter theme that's happening this week, we also have Venus in Libra making a trine to Jupiter in Gemini. And so trines are harmonious, easy, flowing. They don't really require anything of us. Trine, there is an inherent offering or a gift, and it can be easy to miss. because it's so easy, because it doesn't really require anything of you. And I really love this Venus trine Jupiter because Venus is, both of these are benefic planets traditionally. So Venus is relationships, love, beauty, aesthetics, the things that soothe us, the things that put us into an enjoyable flow state. Venus is pleasure. And Jupiter is a symbol of all of these things around growth and advocacy and philosophy and learning. They both tend to share the best of themselves. And so when they come together in this trine, there's this combination of social, uh, social flow, harmony, expansion, being able to really enjoy things. Um, I'm also thinking too, there's sort of, I'm not sure how this is going to play out for you, but I am noticing how Venus is in its home sign of Libra. So Venus rules the sign of Libra. So Venus is able to do the best good that it can do here. There's a natural flow with Venus and Libra. Venus can act in harmony with its most original nature, or most actually I would say with its most socially acceptable nature, which is Libra, in addition to Taurus, of course. So Venus and Libra, there is an effortlessness around relationships and connecting with beauty. And Libra is very much about balancing and finding a balance and making sure that things feel equanimitous. Um, Now, in contrast, Jupiter is in a bit of a more challenging position here in the sign of Gemini. Um, Jupiter is the planet of expansion and seeing the big picture. And Gemini is about focusing on one small thing at a time for more brief periods of time. So Gemini is more compartmentalized, butterflying around. Gemini is about doing this and then doing this and then doing this. And so there's this more like compartmentalized hyper focus, but for very brief periods of time. And Jupiter's nature is very different than that. So I think when we have Jupiter and Gemini in general, so Jupiter is in a sign for about 12 months at a time. So we're all experiencing this like via this transit, this Jupiter of like wanting to really expand, but then having to expand within small moments. And there's a sort of a bit of a catch 22 with this. And so I think I see this in a couple of different ways. I think that Venus brings some ease and some healing and some relaxation and rejuvenation into the Jupiter function here. And so I think that where maybe it has been difficult to grow and expand, there is some support here. Now we're still having the sun square. So it's kind of like there's maybe a challenge, but then there's a resource to add here. And the other component of this too is that Venus is with the South Node in Libra. And the South Node is a symbol of connecting with unseen potential alternate realities, or the things that are coming down the pike that we don't even know, the things that maybe we sense or pick up on, but we don't necessarily have concrete evidence of them. Um, More psychologically, the South Node is a symbol of connecting with intuition, altered states of consciousness, altered states of reality. The South Node is about release and letting go. And it's also about merging with a sense of something greater than yourself. It's very Neptunian in that sense. And so when I'm seeing this here, this Venus South Node coming in to accompany Jupiter, there's, I don't know, maybe this theme around releasing things that have maybe felt complicated or hard, or releasing a sense of over analyzing something. There's some sort of uh, therapeutic surrender that may be available to you here. And I don't know what that's going to look like for you. It could be something that is more of an internal integration and shift. It could be something that is more external in your life. And I would just notice what comes up for you now as I'm saying this, and then also notice what resources are available to you throughout the week. What can you take advantage of? Where can you ask for help? Where can you ask for support? And what's available to you? Now, another minor aspect that's happening this week is Mercury in Leo. See, let me find it here on the chart. Yeah, wait, is this right? Okay. So Mercury moves from Leo into Virgo. And so this is a shift. So we've had this experience of Mercury going retrograde, Virgo, and then Leo. And so this shift is happening very early in the week. So on Monday, the 9th. And so Mercury moves from this place of focusing on the fire element of Leo into the earth element of Virgo. And so I actually really like this because it feels like things are coming on board, and we're fully moving out of this retrograde Mercury Leo process, and Mercury moves into its home sign, its rulership of, and even it's exaltation of Virgo. So Mercury here, being a symbol of the mind and the thought process, is very well organized and astute and able to, I think we can think of it as the mind being able to be more nimble and more discerning when Mercury is in the sign of Virgo. And I think there's also just this sense of completion around the things that we've been processing through the Mercury retrograde process. Um, and so those are some of the themes that I'm seeing for this week. I'm going to pull some tarot cards for us. I think this week to me feels a bit lighter and more expansive and maybe less intense than some of the previous weeks that we've had. Um, and I'm saying that because Jupiter is such an emphasis this week. Now, of course, we're still having uh, Jupiter making it square to Saturn, and we're still in that situation, and that is still being activated this week because we still have the Sun in Virgo very closely opposite Saturn, which is connecting in with this week. But this trine from Venus and the South Node to Jupiter, it feels like there's more opening and support and even guidance through this process. And I would recommend tending to what needs tending to, of course. But then also, where is it that you want to focus your energy? Where do you want to grow and expand? And where do you want to grow your capacity to handle things? And what is that going to look like for you? So, as I'm feeling into this, it's sort of particular, I suppose. It's not necessarily about doing more this week or accomplishing more. It's more about expanding your capacity for taking in new things, for contemplating, and for really looking at how your belief system about what you believe to be true about how your life is and how the world is, how that informs the way that you live your life. And so, um, reflection questions for this week may be, um, what is it that you know to be true in the world? Like, what are the things that you absolutely know 100% are true about people, about the world? If there's a particular situation that's bothering you, you can write down what it is that is bothering you about that situation and what does that mean for you. Like, where is the injustice there? I think Jupiter also, there's this sense of morals and injustice, and um, what is the injustice and what does that mean to you? What does it mean about you? What does it mean about other people? And so these are things that we can explore, I think, to sort of untangle the story. Like, this is very Mercury Jupiter too, the story that we're telling ourselves about ourselves and about other people. So I'm going to pull some tarot cards. Now is the time for you to get into a relaxed place and to be here with yourself as much as you can, and to connect with a an inner or an outer sensory experience, or a concept or a sensation. So more practically, that means connecting in with your physical body, maybe connecting in with your breath or the temperature in the room or the weight of your body wherever it is placed. Or maybe there's a sound that you can hear in the room or off in the distance. Wherever it is, find a place as best you can to settle your attention, to anchor yourself into something here. And in this place of settling, feel yourself take a deep breath in and a deep breath out, letting all of your tension and stress relax and flow out of your body. And from this place, feel that sense of buoyancy and lightness and expansiveness move out from the center of your heart out through your entire body. And from this place, wherever you are right now, you can make a request to connect with your spiritual guidance team or ancestors or the divine in whatever way you resonate. And ask for their guidance here. You can ask them to show you a symbol through one or all of these cards. You can ask for one card to speak to you in particular. I'm going to pull 3 cards now, and you can pick a number 1 through 3 if you wish. All right. So here we are. 4 of Pentacles is the first card. So a couple of things come to mind with this card. Number one is that it tends to be about financial security at a more practical or mundane level. Um, I think this card is also about control and security and safety. And so this is a theme here. There's something around maybe how you feel secure, how you're making your money, and really wanting to make the right decisions. This card is also a reminder to use your resources. Use your resources not just for your benefit, but for the benefit of others as well. And that there's a balance here, that it is important that you take care of yourself, and also how can you share what you have to be a good steward of the resources or of the privileges that you do have, and what may that look like for you. This card reminds you that you have power and influence, even though if it may not necessarily feel that way, and that it's sort of this paradox that the more that you are able to be generous and to give, the more that there is this sense of satisfaction or receiving back. But it's this sort of, so it's a four though. So there's, we can think of like the legs on a table or a chair. There is this containment. It's not a free flowing of giving everything over. There is a principle of balance about it. I'm really feeling into the Venus in Libra with the South Node here, where there is a sense of giving or surrender or release, but then also it's stable here as well. Venus being in a cardinal sign, there is a stability to it. And in the imagery in this card, this person is sitting on two flowers, and each of the flowers has a pentacle on it, and then they have their ear to one pentacle. It's almost like they're sort of listening to it, and it looks like they have a little crown which has the fourth pentacle on it. So there's also this sense of listening, of listening to yourself, to your gut, to what feels good for you. So we may go back to that in a moment. The second card is the King of Cups. The King of Cups is about emotional maturity and emotional mastery, and having a when I pull the King of Cups, I think about having a an ability to regulate yourself when maybe others around you are not regulated, or being able to um, be in a setting where you can be emotionally available and feeling and compassionate, and also know that the emotions of others are not going to harm you, or that um, you don't have to take things personally. There's a sense of stability and strength within the self, so that you can be both very sensitive and emotionally aware, and that is not going to be damaging or overwhelming in some way. Um, with all of the kings, there's also this tone of influence, having an impact on others. And with the cups, this being King of Cups, it's around having an emotional influence on others, or your presence or your way of being having an impact. And so I think it's really interesting that I pulled both of these cards together, because both of these feel like you have an impact on other people. And there's something coming up here. Now I think like we all have an impact on each other, but there's something coming up here for you um, around having an impact on other people. And how does this work for you? I can't remember if I said just now, I did pull the King of Cups reversed. And so there's something here about claiming that sense of emotional maturity, emotional presence. Um, it could be simply coming more into the focus or being seen more in your sphere. Um, the third card is the Ace of Cups. So, Ace of Cups is a new beginning. It can be a new relationship, a new emotional beginning. It can be the beginning of a new way of relating to others. It can literally be a new connection in some way. But the cups are so connected to our emotions, our intuitions, and our way of relating to others. And so I actually really love this in this position because there's something here around realizing the resources and gifts that you have that are valuable to you, but that are also valuable to others, and what you have to give and to offer, and what that's going to look like for you. And then taking up space in that, and that you don't have to be um, the loudest person in the room in order to have an impact, and that there is a new beginning that comes forward from this. There's Ace of Cups is so much about having like a sense of emotional renewal as well. In the traditional deck, the imagery in this card is the cup is overflowing with water, and so there is this cleansing, renewing sort of effect to it. Um, Now, this card in particular in this deck, the Ace of Cups, the figure is they're a little bit worried about this cup. They're like, "Oh my gosh, can I handle this?" And so I think, frankly, that is the question. Maybe is like, "Can I handle this?" And when I'm looking at this, you have the resources, you have the capacity, and it's figuring out how to work with your own individual unique sense of inner emotions and claiming them for your own, and exploring your own personal experience and what is true for you, and that is the way to your sense of security and power, and then also to this sense of emotional renewal. All right. I would love to tell you that I am beginning to offer some new events and groups, which I'm super excited about. I'm hosting moon circles every month for the new and the full moon. And then I'm also starting a tarot support group, which will meet every other week, and a dream circle therapy group as well. So I'm going to have more information on all of those things on my website, theastropsyche.com/events. Would love to share more information with you about that. You can find it on my website, and feel free to sign up or to ask me any questions. I'm wishing you a wonderful week, and I'll see you soon.